Okay, we're all set. The center forward, inside right and left, Chris Jones, Stan Bowles, and Dave Connor are gathered around the center spot, ready for the kickoff. Jim Carr, the referee, is checking his watch. He looks around, waves his arm, and this soccer match is underway. Manchester City in control. At midfield, on the far left side, they send a long center into Chris Jones, but it's too far, and Vic Rouse comes out of his goal area to pick it up, and he boots it upfield. It's short, coming down just short of the center circle and headed back into Atlanta's territory by Manchester City. Quickly, they move to the attack again and get over in the right wing to Francis Lee. Lee has it about 6 yards from the sidelines. Now he starts cutting into the middle. Willie McIntosh kicks it away up to midfield, but it's batted back into Atlanta's half of the playing area. Picked up by Vic Crowe, and Crowe gets it over to Brian Hughes. Hughes starts to move the ball. A pass across the center line is intercepted and deflected by Bobby Kennedy, goes down into the corner, and it's kicked over the sideline. It'll be a throw-in for the Atlanta Chiefs deep in Manchester territory. Willie McIntosh will throw it in. He's about 8 yards from the end line. Looking for Ray Bloomfield, who cuts across in front of him. Throw in, comes in. Comes into Newton, to Bloomfield, boots it over into the middle, but there's nobody there except Manchester, and it's Glenn Pardo who has it, passes back to his goalkeeper, Ken Mulhern, and Mulhern will kick it out of the penalty area. Both teams come back up towards midfield as Mulhern sends it high and well across the center stripe. John Cocking is way back there, so is Gordon Ferry, and it's headed out of bounds. Last touch by Manchester City. The Chiefs will have a throw-in. Vic Crowe will toss in his own territory. Over the head of Pardo to Emmett Kapengwe at the sideline, and Emmett, battling for that ball, has it go out of bounds, and he was the last one to have his foot on it, so Manchester will have a throw-in just across the center stripe in Atlanta's half of the playing field. Correction, there was a pushing violation called against Emmett, so they're going to have a free kick. Is Manchester. Dave Connor comes over to boot. Now it's Tony Coleman. Coleman sends it in towards the middle, but it's short of the penalty area. A nice trap by Mike Doyle. Doyle has it kicked away from him and out of bounds by Brian Hughes. A nice defensive play to allow the Atlanta defense to get set. The throw-in comes in and batted back outwards, picked up by Kennedy. Kennedy gets it over on the right side to Doyle now. Now Doyle over to Jones. Bowles, and off the legs of Mike Doyle, out of bounds, throw-in for the Chiefs. Freddie Mwila comes over to get it, and 10 gives it to Hughes, who throws in across the center line, and before McIntosh can come over to it, it's kicked out of bounds by Bowles. Now Willie throws it in to the Chiefs, goes over into the middle to Kapengwe to Newton, back to Motaung, and back to Mwila. Mwila has it just outside the penalty arc, but it's picked up by Manchester City there and cleared away. Francis Lee goes down to the turf. It's picked up by the Chiefs. To Hughes, to McIntosh, into the corner of the penalty area. Now he comes back out, looking for someone to get it to. A nice center in there. Goes past one man into the goal, but was there an offside? Offside, yes there was. An offside against the Chiefs and Emmett Kapengwe. No goal. The Chiefs almost had it in there, but Emmett was offside. Tony Coleman with the ball at the center stripe over on the far side. Coleman to Connor. Down the left sideline it goes to Doyle. Doyle stops it, guarded closely by Motaung and John Cocking. Now back out to the middle it comes to Jones. Jones loops it high down in towards the penalty area, but it's batted back outward. Doyle picks it up again. A nice center to Doyle, but quickly coming out and deflecting that ball to allow it to go out of bounds is Vic Rouse. All right, we have a corner kick coming up for Manchester City over on the deep left side along the left field foul line if you want to orient yourself where baseball is concerned. Tony Coleman will take it. Emmett Kapengwe just got a mild warning from the referee, Jim Carr. Coleman gets the go-ahead. Now here's the boot coming in across the net area. Going into the air to block it was Vic Rouse, and he was run into by one of Manchester City's players, so Vic will get a free kick. Once he was in the goal area, you cannot challenge him, and he was rammed into, therefore, the free kick. Up to midfield it comes, and again, Manchester City gains control. across the stripe from the near side to Francis Lee, and it goes off Lee's legs out of bounds. A throw-in for the Chiefs, and Willie McIntosh will do the honors. We have nearly 5 minutes gone by in the match with no score. Bloomfield gets the throw-in, but it's intercepted by Kennedy. Kennedy gets it up to Francis, and Francis brings it up the middle. Pass into the center. It goes to Bowles. Bowles chasing it, picks it up in Atlanta's half of the field. Down the middle, Francis Lee with the ball, has it stolen away. A nice interception by Vic Crowe. And Crowe starts to work it up the middle. Jones comes over, almost gets it away from him, but not successfully. Again, Crowe tries to get it away. This time it's deflected and picked up by Manchester City. On the right side, it comes near the sidelines to Doyle. Doyle into the middle on the right side. It goes to Pardo. Pardo tries to get a shot into the center. That's intercepted by Freddie Mwila of Atlanta. Mwila gets it over on his left side to Brian Hughes, and now Hughes sets up a long pass down the sideline, and it's going to go out of bounds. It'll be a throw-in for Manchester. 39-22 to go in the first half of play. We have no score in this ball game. The throw-in, across the stripe it comes, and it's picked up by Jones and kicked away from him out of bounds by Gordon Ferry. Again, the throw-in comes to Jones, and again Ferry is there to clear it away. So again, we'll have a throw-in for Manchester City, only this time it's deeper into Atlanta's half of the field. The throw-in will be by Mike Doyle. As Manchester sets itself offensively, the throw-in comes into the penalty area, headed out of there, and booted out by Gordon Ferry. Comes out towards the middle, headed around by Motaung, but Manchester comes up with possession. Dave Connor just on his side of the stripe. Into the middle it comes, where George Heslop comes over, but he doesn't get it. Instead, it's centered up towards the penalty area, batted back out by Brian Hughes. Mwila comes over, gets the ball over to Ray Bloomfield on the left side, and Ray kicks it long across the center line, again headed back into Atlanta's half of the field by Manchester, where they bring it over to the near sidelines. Mike Doyle with it, back across the stripe. It goes to Kennedy. Kennedy has it get by him momentarily, chases it and sends it clear across the field to Dave Connor. Connor chasing it at the sideline, stops it just barely before it goes out of bounds, and he has to pass back to Mulhern, the goalkeeper. So they couldn't set up any offense on that particular maneuver. Mulhern sets it up at midfield as the ball comes down and goes out of bounds. It's awarded a throw-in to Manchester City. Just a little past 7 minutes gone by in the contest, no score. Stan Bowles will throw in. A soft one comes into Pardo. And there's a tripping violation called against Freddie Mwila. A free kick awarded to Manchester City. Down to the turf went Stan Bowles. Free kick will be taken by the team captain, Tony Book. Takes a nice long step back, 5-6 yards. He's going to get it right into the middle if he possibly can. Low shot. It comes in right off the top of the head of Mike Doyle, and it rolls over the goal line. A goal kick coming up for Rouse. We have a pause in the action. Let's pause 60 seconds for this message.
Your attention, please, Mr. Gary Harris. Mr. Gary Harris, please report the customer service booth on 19. Thank you. Round goal kick. The boy. George Heslop, back in his goalkeeper, Dick Mulhern. Dave Connor. Freddie Mwila for the team.
36 minutes and 10 seconds to go in the first half of play. We have no score in the contest. Atlanta has possession deep in Manchester's territory. Graham Newton on the left side of the goal, and the ball is cleared out of there very quickly. It's still in bounds, bouncing and going out of bounds. A nice play by Tony Book, who had to come into the edge of the goal area and kick it away from there as Newton almost blasted it into the corner of the nets. A nice save on the part of team captain Tony Book. The throw-in comes in, intended for Motaung and headed out of bounds again by Tony Book. It'll be a corner kick for the Chiefs coming up with Willie McIntosh doing the honors in the near left-hand corner. McIntosh, a left-footed kicker, will bend it away from the nets. There is the kick coming in. Too far, over the head of all the Chiefs. And Manchester starts to move on the attack. Pardo comes up to the mid-stripe, and it's kicked away from him by Vic Crowe, out of bounds. A throw-in for Manchester at midfield.
One of the difficulties both teams had last year, present difficulties, they couldn't hear each other shouting instructions because of the enormous roar from the crowd. It looks like a repeat performance tonight. They'll have to play by ear.
Okay, there's a chance. Motaung coming on, but he can't quite catch up to it. It's cleared away from him by one of Manchester City's defenders over on the left-hand side, Dave Connor, chasing that ball, and it goes out over the sideline. It'll be a throw-in for the Chiefs. Kapengwi will throw it in. The ball is adjacent. No, they give it over to Manchester City. Well, they had us fooled on that one. Okay, the pass comes back to the goalkeeper, Mulhern, and Mulhern clears it out. Coming high over the center line on the right center side, and we have a pushing violation called against Brian Hughes of the Chiefs. A free kick coming up for Manchester, about 15 yards inside the center stripe in Atlanta's half of the field. The free kick is taken by Bobby Kennedy, looped into the penalty area on the left side, batted high in the air, still batted around, loose ball. A nice save by Vic Rouse, who gathers it up in his arms. He's being booted around down there, but he comes up with the ball. Chris Jones was the one who was giving Vic quite a beating down there. He was going for that ball, and Vic did not have total possession of it. It was rolling off his fingertips, and every time Jones tried to get his foot into it and put it into the nets, Rouse would have the ball almost kicked virtually into his stomach. So he finally maintained possession and got up off the ground, shaking a bit of that knocking around off. And he's all right. He's not hurt at all, and he will kick it out of there. In the meantime,
quite likely, because Vic Rouse had possession of that ball, and the two Manchester City players, Gordon and Lee, were still trying to get it out of his hand.
Okay, the goal kick comes upfield into Manchester's half, headed back across, picked up by Freddie Mwila, taken away from him momentarily, and quickly Mike Doyle comes up with it, gets it behind to a teammate, still being batted around loose, still chasing that ball as Mwila. Finally, Manchester comes up with it. They start working it upfield, across the center line, where it's intercepted by Gordon Ferry. Ferry brings it into Manchester's half. Into the center, it's intercepted and deflected away by Stan Bowles, but we have a handball violation called against Bowles as he stuck his arms up as the pass was coming over. So a free kick is awarded to the Chiefs. Vic Crowe will take it, about 12 yards across the center line. Into the middle it goes. The ball being batted around loose and cleared out of there very quickly by one of the fullbacks of Manchester. It goes out over the goal line, and we'll have a corner kick coming up for the Chiefs. Again, McIntosh will come over.
Manchester City are certainly not showing all that much composure when the Chiefs come thundering in, but my goodness, the tackling out there is crisp and hard and accurate tonight.
Willie McIntosh in the near left-hand corner on our left. The left-footed kicker sends it across. Batted high in the air, off the heads again. Mwila with a header over on the left side, and over the head kick sends it out of bounds by Manchester. A throw-in for the Chiefs. Again, McIntosh with the throw-in. A lead pass to Bloomfield, a little bit too far for Ray, and the ball is booted out of there. We have a whistle, a violation. Dangerous kicking called against Manchester. A free kick for the Chiefs.
There's two things. That kick was called for a dangerous play. The Manchester City defender concerned had his foot much too high in the air. But the referee, after giving the free kick, stopped the game for a treatment to Graham Newton, who seems to be complaining of either a nick over his eye or something in his eye. But he's certainly having a little bit of medical equipment from trainer Dave personally.
I've got the glasses on him, Eric. It looks like he's got a scratch underneath his right eye, and Dave is... 30 minutes, 51 seconds to go in the half. We have no score. And two mild threats on the part of the Atlanta Chiefs have failed to materialize. The ball is now at midfield. Manchester City trying to maintain control, and so far they have been rather successful. Doyle gets it over on the near sidelines over to Bobby Kennedy, and Kennedy trying to get a shot upfield, has it intercepted by McIntosh, and quickly Kennedy cuts him off, regains possession of that ball. Again, he bats it right off the legs of McIntosh, and this time he kicks it out of bounds.
Really fast and furious right there now. And this thing is Kaizer Motaung is looking very sharp indeed. I mean, this is the first time he's ever started a game for the Chiefs.
Okay, the ball is just booted out of bounds by Tony Book, and Atlanta will have another throw in, some 15 yards from the end line, deep in Manchester territory. Willie goes down to the ground to tighten up a shoelace down there. The throw in will come in from Brian Hughes, and he's being marked very tightly by George Heslop. Throw in comes in to Motaung, a header off the left side of his head. Quickly, Mulhern comes over to grab it, and Bloomfield runs into him but stops short. He did manage to make contact. The kick upfield from Mulhern is taken by John Cocking, sent over on the far right side where Dave Connor goes over for it, chases it, and allows it to go out of bounds. However, he didn't realize that the last to touch it was a teammate, so it's another throw-in for the Chiefs. Kapengwi will throw in.
Bloomfield is on the floor getting his wind back.
Attack. Okay, the throw-in, back to action. It comes in, and it's cleared out of there by Tony Book and out of bounds. Right at midfield, again, we'll have a throw-in for the Chiefs. John Cocking will come over and throw the ball in. On his left is Vic Crowe, and ahead of him, Emmett Kapengwi. It comes in to Emmett, who heads it high in the air. Motaung trying to get over there. He can't get to it in time. It's headed away and picked up by Tony Coleman of Manchester City, challenged by Cocking very tightly. Coleman gets by John. Pass over is intercepted and re-intercepted by Manchester City. They start to work it quickly downfield. Bowles, a nice late pass, and there was an offside called against Manchester City, although they did get it into the nets. Offside, Manchester City. Indirect free kick coming up for the Chiefs. We have 28:30 to go in the first half of play. Vic Rouse comes out of the penalty area, gets that long boot downfield, coming down just short of the Manchester penalty area. Here's Mike Doyle being pushed by Freddie Mwila, and Mike will get a free kick about 10 yards outside the 18-yard line. Wheeler charging a little bit too hard for that ball. Team captain Tony Book places the ball down. He'll take about an 8-yard run up for this free kick as both clubs set themselves on the other half of the field. Low line drive shot comes across the stripe, intercepted by Kapengwi. Emmett passes across the line to Motaung. Motaung on the right, going down the right side of the penalty area. Now he passes in, right shot right into the goal, but it's saved by Mulhern. A nice line drive shot by Kaizer Motaung, and he had the right angle, the right height, but Mulhern was there in front of him to stop it. Action again in Manchester's half. Ball passed back to Mulhern, the goalkeeper, as Graham Newton couldn't quite get up to the pass that was intended for him. Again, the ball comes upfield. A nice sliding tackle by one of the Chiefs, and we have a whistle for a violation, this time against Manchester City's Bobby Kennedy. It'll be a free kick for the Chiefs.
I had a letter this week, Art, from a lady that said that the rematch was like his sister.
All right, Bloomfield at the corner of the penalty area. Now he cuts to the left side, just outside of it, backs it off towards the sideline. It goes out of bounds, and it was Ray who last touched it, so Manchester will get the throw-in deep in their half of the field. The fans don't like it, but that's the way it occurred. Ray was the last one to touch it. The throw-in comes in from Kennedy, comes over to Tony Book, and Book clears it up across the center stripe. Coming down, up in the air go the heads. Gordon Ferry trying to get over to it, but he can't quite pick it up as Bowles centers the ball in for Manchester. Over his head it goes to Tony Coleman. Coleman chasing it near the sidelines. He slows it down. John Cocking is there guarding him. Gets it past John, but he tries to get up to the ball. He can't. Cocking comes back to get it. Gets it over to Rouse, and Rouse throws it out to the right side where Kapengwi starts to move it upfield. Across the stripe on a pass to Mwila. Up towards the middle. Intercepted by Manchester City. They take it across the stripe. On the right side it goes near the sidelines where it's picked up by Chris Jones. Jones sends a high shot over the nets, out of bounds, and it's a goal kick coming up for Atlanta. 25:57 to go in the first half. Still no score in this game, and it's not been the runaway that Manchester might have hoped to it be at this point. The goal kick for Rouse. Upfield right down the middle. On the other side of the center circle, headed by Graham Newton to Motaung. Motaung trying to get it over to Mwila, but we have a violation. A handball is called against Manchester City. Free kick coming up for the Chiefs. Some 4 yards on the other side of the center line, center circle. Comes into the penalty area. A header by Graham Newton was too soft, and Mulhern was there to get it on a bounce, and he whips it out to the left side. This time it goes over to Pardo, and Pardo sends it on the left side at the center line. It goes over the sidelines. Last touch by Manchester. It's a throw-in for the Chiefs at midfield. Well, we have 2 game balls down there at this point. Vic Crowe will throw it in right at midfield. The throw-in comes into Kapengwe. Emmett still in control. Now Vic comes over to get it. Pass down the sideline is intercepted by Manchester. Dave Connor picks it up. Now he sends it deep down the long side to Francis Lee. Lee comes up with it into the middle to Doyle. Doyle across the line. But coming up quickly is Brian Hughes to clear it away. Gets it over to Kapengwe. And now Emmett starts to work the ball downfield. Cutting into the middle, still going. A pass intended for McIntosh too far, intercepted by Manchester, and they get it back to Mulhern, the goalkeeper. Mulhern booting it around in the penalty area, bounces it. Now he will punt it upfield. It comes across the stripe to the right of center. Up in the air goes Chris Jones and Brian Hughes. It's headed into the middle. Across the center circle it rolls. Tony Coleman with the ball. Crossing into the left where it's intercepted by Hughes, who passes up to the center line to Mwila. Freddie had it roll off his foot, but he comes over on the right side where Kapengwe comes up with it. Now Ray Bloomfield in the middle at the center line. On his left side, intended for Graham Newton, and it's cleared away by Tony Buck. And it'll be a throw-in for the Chiefs back in their own half of the field on the near sidelines. Brian Hughes decides instead to throw it back to Vic Rouse at goal, who will send it upfield, and thus saving the trouble of trying to have to work it upfield. A dead ball kick coming down the left side. Willie McIntosh waiting for it to come down, but it's headed out of bounds by Bobby Kennedy, and Kennedy might have grabbed Willie by the shirt as they were both coming down from that midair jump. However, it's awarded to the Chiefs on the throw-in. To Motaung, comes past Kaizer, and it's kicked upfield by Tony Book. Too far for Chris Jones. Jones comes over to try to get it. John Cocking gets it instead. Over on the right wing, it goes to Kapengwe. Starts to work downfield. Adjacent the 18-yard line to Mwila. John Cocking is there now. Freddie has it deflected around, tries to pick it up. Bloomfield comes over to get it, but he can't. It's passed up into the middle to Tony Coleman, and it's sent over the touchline and out of bounds, awarded to the Atlanta Chiefs, last touched by Manchester. 22:56 to go in the first half. Again, no score. Manchester City and the Atlanta Chiefs. Cocking takes the throw-in, kicks it across the stripe. It's stopped by Motaung. He tries to move it off his chest, but he can't. It's intercepted by Manchester City, but we have an infraction called against the Chiefs.
Again, dangerous kicking. You can't raise your foot high enough to endanger a man's face. That's
right.
Basically what it's all about.
And we've seen that happen a number of times in past games. Fortunately, no one has been injured on such an occasion. Okay, the kick comes down deep into the left-hand corner where John Cocking allows it to go out of bounds. And it's a goal kick for the Chiefs, as none of the Atlanta ball players tried to intercept. They had control of it, or were watching control of it, and allowed it to roll out. So Vic Rouse places it down at the corner of the goal area, sends it upfield. Coming down to the left of center, Tony Buck pushes Graham Newton. Free kick for the Chiefs in Manchester's half of the field, right at the center circle. All right, the free kick is taken. Bloomfield has it, centers the ball in. It's a little bit too far. Mulhern has to come out of the goal area and fall down on that ball, and he quickly gets possession. He was challenged, but not too closely, by Graham Newton. Mulhern kicks it upfield. John Cocking is there, heads it back across, headed back by Manchester. They quickly pick up possession of the ball. With it is Pardo. Outside the penalty area, on his right to Doyle. Doyle in the center, a bouncing shot, saved nicely by Vic Rouse. I don't believe there was too much trouble there. Vic did go down to the grass to save that one, but he wanted to make definitely sure that he had possession. Rather than go with his hands, he went with his whole body.
The essence of good goalkeeping.
Okay, back upfield, the kick comes just outside the penalty area of Manchester City. It's Freddie Mwila with it in control, tries to get one in there, but it's intercepted and kicked out of there by Bobby Kennedy. Pardo comes up with it, gets it over to the teammate on the left side at the center line. Into the middle, Mwila comes up with possession as nobody was there to get it for Manchester. Back to Crowe, back to Freddie again. Now on the right side of the center circle in Manchester's half of the field, we have a violation called against Manchester City, and Atlanta will get a free kick. And why they didn't allow them to have possession and maintain possession, I don't know. Eric, isn't it true that usually if a violation is called against a team and the opposite team has possession of the ball, they still usually can maintain possession of that ball if the penalty is called against the opposing team?
If there is a definite asset in not stopping the game,
Vic Rouse, free kick. Anyway, back in. Boy. Holding in line, goal kick for Manchester City.
Mike Doyle apparently might have bruised his ribs on the left side, and he might have got a little bump on his right knee, but he is remaining in the game. He's all right. And play is continuing at midfield with Atlanta and Manchester City battling for possession of the ball. Finally, Manchester comes up with it. Pardo with the ball, cutting into the corner of the penalty area, but Mwila passes him up, or rather Kapengwe passes him up and gets that ball over to John Cocking, and Cocking sends it upfield to Graham Newton and to Mwila. The ball being booted around again, picked up by Manchester's Mike Doyle. Doyle on his half of the playing field, toying around with the ball, gets it over to Dave Connor, and Connor sends it across the stripe to Lee. Lee has it kicked away from him by Mwila, where it's intercepted by the Chiefs. Coming with the ball is Graham Newton. Starts working it up towards the Manchester penalty area to Mwila, back to Newton. On the left side to McIntosh, too short. It's cleared out of there by Manchester City, and they send it up to the center stripe. Coming up is Gordon Ferry to re-intercept that ball, and again it comes back up to the center stripe. Ray Bloomfield gets it at the line, sends it down the left side, where Manchester's Tony Book waiting for it to settle, and gets it over to Mulhern, the goalkeeper. 18:40 to go in the first half of play. No score in this game. Atlanta and Manchester City. Mulhern kicks it upfield. To the right of center, across the center line it goes. Fighting for that ball is Vic Crowe and Gordon Ferry, and it's kicked out over the touchline. Last touch by Atlanta. It'll be a throw-in for Manchester, and very quickly they move to the attack. Tony Coleman throwing in to Kennedy. He crosses into the middle, headed out of there by John Cocking, where Emmett Kapengwe is waiting for it. Now Emmett has the ball and starts working it upfield on the infield skin. He's being guarded by Connor, gets it over to Motaung. Motaung behind him to Cocking and to Mwila. Right into the middle, but there's nobody there. And Mike Doyle comes up with it and taps it back to Mulhern. Again, Mulhern will send it upfield, right down the middle, curving to the left side. Cocking comes up to re-intercept that ball. But over on the left side is Stan Bowles. He gets it up across the line. Back up to him it comes, but Mwila is there to stop it. On the left side it goes to Connor, and Connor boots it out over the sideline. It'll be a throw-in for the Atlanta Chiefs. Brian Hughes will toss it in. We have 17:36 to go in the first half. Cocking throwing in across the center line to team captain Vic Crowe. Crowe up in front of him to Bloomfield. Bloomfield to Cocking on the right sideline, centering it long and deep into the penalty area. Goes by everybody, and Mulhern is there to get it. There might have been a penalty down in the penalty area. Let's see. There's an argument going on. Yes, I believe we're going to have a penalty shot for the Atlanta Chiefs. Manchester City was detected holding as that cross pass was coming in from the sidelines from John Cocking. And let's see who is going to take the shot. It looks like Freddie Mwila is lined up squarely. The goalkeeper cannot move until that ball is kicked. Here it comes. Goal! Atlanta! There it was, a violation that led to a goal, and Freddie Mwila put it into the lower right-hand corner of the nets. Mulhern could not get to it. 1-0, the Chiefs leading with 16:32 to go in the first half. Okay, Tony Coleman with the ball in Atlanta's half of the field. Over it goes to Doyle, and over to Coleman again. A center pass is deflected and blocked nicely, and blocked again by Brian Hughes out of bounds. Great defensive work on the part of Brian Hughes. The throw-in from Bobby Kennedy, still in Atlanta's half of the field. Throw-in comes in, Gordon Ferry over his head, and Mwila tries to kick it out off the legs of Ferry. Kicked up into the middle. Motaung comes up with it. Now Kaizer passes over the right side to Emmett Kapengwi. Kapengwi takes it over the center line. Up to the middle it goes, intended for Moyboy, but it's a little bit too far and too wide. Mulhern comes out of the goal position to get that ball, and he punts it upfield. 15:47 to go in the first half. 1-0 Chiefs. Off the head of one of Manchester's boys. Jones chasing that ball. So is Ferry. Into the corner it goes, and it's awarded out of bounds, awarded to Manchester City. Throw in for Manchester. Going over to take that ball and throw it in will be Glenn Pardo. Nice piece of defensive work on the part of Gordon Ferry. A sliding tackle that got it out of bounds. The throw in comes into Chris Jones. Into the penalty area and cleared out by Cocking, but batted right back in there and cleared it out again by Brian Hughes. Bobby Kennedy gets it over into the corner to Francis Lee. Lee just outside the penalty area. Behind him it goes to Kennedy and right up to the 18-yard line where it's taken by Bloomfield, and Bloomfield starts to work it out. On the far right side it goes to Emmett Kapengwi. Kapengwi takes it up across the middle. Now he moves into Manchester's territory. To Mwila. Mwila almost has it taken away from him, but he gets it again. Into the middle to Graham Newton, but he was offside. Newton had outrun the second defender, and it was offside, so the indirect free kick is taken by Manchester City. Bobby Kennedy with it. 6 yards out from the 18-yard line. Kicks it well across the stripe, and the ball goes out of bounds. Throw in for the Chiefs. Okay, Brian Hughes tosses it across the line. It comes to Willa McIntosh. McIntosh keeps it down the left sideline, and he is tackled to the ground. Stan Bowles grabbed him around the waist. He knew it was basically a defensive maneuver. These things are done more frequently than you'd imagine, just as a matter of safe defense to allow the defense to get itself set. And the free kick is taken. Brian Hughes right into the middle. A header off Graham Newton, and header by Freddie Mwila. Back out to the middle it goes. Kicked into the left side of the penalty area, but not quite. Comes back out to the center line where Gordon Ferry stops it. Ferry again tries to center it in. Mike Doyle heads it, tries to head it out, but he can't. It's being batted back and forth across. Kennedy finally heads it out to the middle, and Gordon Ferry comes up with it. Ferry sends it down into the penalty area. Well, Mulhern has to come out from the goal area to pick it up, and he again will punt it away. Some quick ball handling for that brief flurry. Vic Crowe lets it go off the top of his head. John Cocking is chasing that ball, and he passes back to Vic Rouse. Well, Vic hasn't had too much work. He's been banged around down there once or twice, but overall in the first 32 minutes of this first half of play, he's been unbusy to a great extent. Upfield it comes to Mulhern once more, and they work the ball longitudinally back and forth up and down field. That's the only one I could think of right there, Eric. Okay, the ball comes down in Manchester's half with Emmett Kapengwi with it. Behind him to Cocking. Cocking centers it in. Off the head of Mwila. High loose ball at the corner of the penalty area. Whistle for a violation. This one is against Atlanta.
This may not be the time for statistics, but I think I'll give one all the same. I think that is the Chiefs' first penalty kick they've had ever since they've been in the United States. I think 43 games. It's the very first penalty kick they've ever had.
Eric, I was trying to think of that fact myself. I believe last season we may have had one that was attempted and the goalkeeper blocked it. We'll have to check back later on, okay? We have 12:13 to go in the first half. 1-0 Chiefs, and the Chiefs regain possession. Graham Newton to Willie McIntosh at midfield. Willie takes it across the line, centers the ball nicely to Mwila. Mwila driving, a shot, a save nicely by Mulhern.
Curling away from the goalkeeper, but Mulhern got it splendidly to pick it up. Fine effort.
He really had to stretch out for that one. Okay, Manchester quickly comes on to the attack. On the right side to Bowles. Bowles trying to set it up. It goes to Francis Lee. A shot into the arms of Vic Rouse. Nice save by Vic. Not too difficult. He was right there waiting for it. Okay, Mwila working it on the right side at midfield again. On the right, it goes to Kapengwi. Kapengwi being challenged by Connor. Now he cuts to his left, sends it back across the stripe to Bloomfield. Behind him to Cocking. Cocking waiting to set it up. On the right to Kapengwi, back to John. John sends it upfield to Motaung. Motaung sends it into the middle to Mwila. Freddie on his left to Brian Hughes into the penalty area. A shot is missed, attempted, almost attempted, but a nice save on the part of Tony Book. But we thought sure Willie McIntosh was going to put his foot into it. He may have waited one step too long, and Tony Book came along to clear it away before he had the opportunity.
That was a fine interception indeed. Willie McIntosh, before he's ready to let that one bang. Here we go.
Okay, the corner kick by McIntosh, a header into the goal area, a topper and a shot by Kapengwi and a save by Mulhern. The Chiefs have kept the pressure on rather consistently on Manchester City, and they lead 1-0 on that penalty kick by Freddie Mwila. Here's Kapengwi again on the right side to Motaung, but Kaizer was way offside.
Good call. Boy was quite on
As a matter, there were 3 of the Chiefs that were offside on that occasion, Eric. Not only was Kaizer, but so was Willie McIntosh and Graham Newton. Okay, Ken Mulhern with the ball, the Manchester goalkeeper, and he sends it upfield. Clear it away from the danger area. Off the top of the head of Bowles, sent back into the center circle, off the foot of Mwila. It's picked up by Manchester City to Francis Lee on the right side, guarded by Brian Hughes. Cuts to his left and behind him now. Then passes on his right to Kennedy. Kennedy waits. Tries a looping shot into the middle. Rouse comes out of the goal area, punches it out of there. Tapper down to the ground by Coleman, cleared out of there by Gordon Ferry. High into the air, comes down right at the sideline. Kapengwi stops it with his foot and gets it over to Mwila. Up the middle to Graham Newton. On the right side, and there's nobody there. It's grabbed by Connor. Connor taps it up, traps it with his chest, tries to get it over to a teammate, but Mwila is there to intercept. Gets over to McIntosh in the middle. McIntosh to Kapengwi. Kapengwi on the left side to McIntosh. A shot wide of the nets and out of bounds. We have a pause in the action. Let's take 60 seconds for this message. All set for action once more. Ken Mulhern, Manchester's goalkeeper, has it down on the 6-yard line. He'll kick it out. We have 9 minutes and 3 seconds to go in the first half of play. The score is Atlanta 1, Manchester City 0, in case you just joined us. And if we haven't done so in the past few seconds or minutes, let's pause 5 seconds for station identification. Ball in action in Atlanta's half of the playing field, but nothing serious on the challenge scene as it comes down into the Atlanta penalty area, and Vic Rouse gently comes over to get it and slowly taps it upfield with his feet. Now at the 18-yard line, he punts the ball deep. Off the head of George Heslop it comes, and over on the left side to Dave Connor. Connor sends it up towards the middle to Coleman, and Coleman is coming backwards with the ball, trying to get away from Vic Crowe. Crowe heading him over to the sideline, and it comes upfield where John Cocking has to come over and get it, and gets it over to Gordon Ferry, back to Cocking. Cocking centers the ball in now, but there's an offside call against Graham Newton and Kaizer Motaung. They were both offside. We'll have an indirect free kick for Manchester. 7:52 to go in the first half of play. It's still 1-0 as Mulhern punts it upfield. A great crowd on hand this evening. The ball goes into Atlanta's penalty area, and Vic Rouse comes over there, and as he grabs it and not come up with it, but he did. Lee coming over with, rather Dave Connor coming over, and he boots it off the chest of John Cocking, and it goes out of bounds. It'll be a throw-in for Manchester City. It's 2-1 now in favor of Atlanta with 34:25 to go in the game. The throw-in from Connor comes in and intercepted by Mwila. Mwila going, a pass to Motaung, and it's cleared away, but there was an offside called against Motaung as he was well ahead of the second defender. That's the 5th time this game we've had an offside called against the Chiefs tonight.
Kaizer there realised he was in an offside situation, tried not to interfere with it, and then eventually couldn't resist the temptation and went in and joined them and raced through, and was quite rightly called.
Okay, the kick comes upfield from Mulhern, and the Chiefs come up with position. Kapengwi gets it over to Motaung. Motaung battling for that ball, still battling for it. Behind him to Emmett. Emmett starts to work in at the right corner of the penalty area. Cuts into the middle, gets a pass over to Mwila. Freddie, long shot, just outside. And over the goal line. It came close, it missed the nets by some 2 feet. And Mulhern was nowhere near it. If it had gone into the right-hand corner, he could not have come up with it.
That's only been a push out of the line of fire. That's the sort of thing we want to see more of from the Chiefs. This more instant shooting.
And it was taken from fairly well back, too. 33-10 to go in this ball game. The ball comes up in Atlanta's half of the field. Cocking chasing it. Gets it over on the right side to Emmett. And Emmett trying to clear it. Has it go off the chest of Dave Connor and out of bounds. Throw in for the Chiefs. Vic Crowe in his half of the field. Looking, throwing in, and climbing right on top of Emmett's back is Dave Connor. So it's a free kick for the Chiefs. Just across the center line, Vic Crowe comes over to take it. Standing in front of him is Tony Coleman. Crowe's kick coming just inside the penalty area to Graham Newton. Here comes Boy off the left side of his foot and still inbounds, rolling into the corner and finally rolling over the sideline. So while they chase it, we have a pause in the action. 60 seconds for this message.
They don't have a DOA spot either. I'm giving them the Jazz Festival. They don't have it. They don't have the Jazz.
Going to Manchester City, taken by Kennedy.
Jack says they have it. They ran it before. You know
They've got the tapes for Boac and the Jazz Festival.
Free kick to Manchester City. Taken by Tony Book. Glenn Pardo. Back to Book. Pardo. Kick away by Ray Woodfield. Ray Woodfield. Woodfield with all the team. Taken away by Kennedy. The boy. The Woodfield. Kicked out of bounds by Kennedy going to the knee.
The Atlanta Chiefs will have a throw-in deep in Manchester City's territory. The score is 2-1 Atlanta. We have 31 minutes, 13 seconds to go in the ball game as that ball was kicked down into the third base dugout. Now they finally retrieve it. Bloomfield throws in to Motaung. It goes out over the goal line, and they will award a goal kick to Manchester City. It was last touched by Motaung. Mulhern places it down on the 6-yard marker, gets it up past the 18-yard marker, right back to him, and he throws it out to the left side, coming well upfield, right at the center line. John Cocking charges on to intercept. Here comes Emmett Kapengwi across the middle, too far for Motaung and too far for Graham Newton. I think he might have tried, it was either he was attempting a shot on his own and it went way wide, or else it was too far a pass for Kaizer Motaung.
Yeah, you're right, I think it's very difficult to say what was in his mind right then. It was a pretty good situation, in fact. Graham Newton and Willie McIntosh were running in too, and they were waiting for a ball to be slipped gently across the ball and let him go. He was too fast.
They had a good opportunity that time and failed to cash in. Out of bounds it goes, last touched by John Cocking. Throw in for Manchester City. Coleman throwing in. Comes down, going into the corner. Coleman chasing it now at the goal line, loops it off his foot, and it goes back behind the nets out of bounds. Goal kick for Vic Rouse and the Chiefs. 29:53 to go in the game. 2-1 Chiefs over Manchester City. Rouse has the ball retrieved and sets it down in the corner. Freddie Mwila and Stan Bowles are no more than a foot apart from each other. They are marking each other very tightly. Okay, upfield comes the kick at the center line. Emmett Kapengwi has it go off the top of his head. Now he gets it right at the stripe. starts working upfield. Some nice footwork by Emmett. Cuts to the left, gets pass over to Bloomfield, but it was too short. Intercepted and re-intercepted by Bloomfield now. Ray has it on his half of the stripe. Gets it over on the right to Cocking and then up to Graham Newton. Newton in the right side going down the sideline is the ball. Chasing it is Motaung, and it goes out of bounds. He was pushed, and he was pushed by Stan Bowles. Let's see if they'll get a free kick. Whatever it is, it's advantage Atlanta. They will have possession of the ball. Motaung may have twisted his ankle for the moment. He is sitting down.
He slipped very badly. He was knocked over the line.
And oh, well, they've got the tape down there. They've used it before. I know that.
Yeah, well, just like this. I mean,
Look under. Have them look under British Overseas Airways Corporation.
I had to write in the spot. We wrote in the spot for the Jazz.
The boos that you hear in the background is as a result of a violation by Tony Book against Emmett Kapengwi. They kind of bumped shoulders down there after the whistle had blown. The fans didn't like it. Now here comes Peter McParland into the ball game for Kaizer Motaung. Apparently Kaizer twisted his ankle so much so that he is not going to be able to continue. McParland comes into the ball game for Kaizer up at the front line. Kapengwi trying to get a pass into the middle. As it deflected, it goes off Mulhern's foot, and we'll have a corner kick for the Chiefs in the near corner. Freddie Mwila comes over. McParland now into the game. He will assume the inside left position. Apparently, as the corner kick was taken by Freddie, the official was not ready. Here comes Phil Woosnam out onto the playing field.
I wouldn't be at all surprised if this is not a command from the referee to tell someone to stop throwing things from behind the Manchester City goal. A bit of litter has been thrown.
Responded thusly with applause, and I don't think there'll be any more thrown. All right, Vic Crowe having taken the corner kick to Freddie Mwila on the right. Freddie tries to loop it into the middle, but Mulhern comes out of the nets to grab the ball, and he sends it out to the right. Upfield it comes, and upfield very long, but it's too long for the intended receiver, Glenn Pardo, as Brian Hughes taps it back to the goalkeeper, and Vic Rouse sends it out to the right. To Cocking to Emmett Kapengwi. Emmett spins around one man, can't quite get by him, gets it over to Graham Newton, back to Emmett, and then up in front of him to Peter McParland, who taps it over his head, and it's picked up by Manchester. Down the left side it goes. Cocking is there to bat it back in, but again Manchester comes up with it, and it's Chris Jones passing behind him and on his left to Heslop, and gets it back to Jones. Jones just on his side of the line at midfield. John Cocking tries to tackle it away from him. Emmett Kapengwi comes up with it, and he is pushed, and the ball is kicked out over the sideline. Emmett comes over and lends an assist to Dave Connor and helps him up off the turf as Connor went down.
Manchester City seem to be playing a great deal of composure and trying to pull back the pace to their own advantage by only containing the ball.
McParland with the ball just outside the penalty area, gets it up front of him near the goal line to Kapengwi, and it goes out of bounds, and let's see. Emmett is down on the turf. Looks like he might have had the wind knocked out of him because he's kind of holding his hand to his stomach. And here comes Dave Pursley once more. Emmett is sitting down on the ground, arms behind him. Takes the ball out on the right side, and now the goalkeeper, or rather the official, Jim Carr, says, let's start that all over again. Emmett is getting up on his feet. He's going to stay in the game. Okay, Mulhern with his goal kick gets it to Tony Book, and Book gets it back to Mulhern, who now punts it up from the 18-yard marker. Sends it long and deep upfield. Vic Crowe tries to hit it. Gordon Ferry sends it over on the left side, and it's sent upfield across the stripe by Cocking to Peter McParland. Gets it on the right side to Graham Newton. Newton cutting in between two players. They catch up with him and kick it out over the goal line. Dave Connor was the one that kicked it out. It'll be a corner kick for the Chiefs with 24:52 to go in the game, and the Chiefs leading 2-1. Manchester sets its defense. Connor on the front side of the goal. Mulhern towards the back. The corner kick is taken to McIntosh. Back to Kapengwi. The ball being booted high in the air on the left side of the nets. Mwila comes over, heads it once as he tries to get control, taps it down towards the goal line. Mulhern comes over and kicks it up on the right side. It goes out of bounds, but I believe the ball had gone out over the goal line, and it was last touched by Mulhern, so the Chiefs will get another corner kick on the far side. And again, it'll be Freddie Mwila. Here it's taken. Nice center in, but nobody is there. It's Mulhern that goes over to get that ball as it comes angling in towards the nets, and he throws it out to the left to Francis Lee. And Lee sends it right back to Mulhern. Kapengwi was close to it, and he couldn't quite catch up to it. Had he put his foot into it before Mulhern got it, we would have had another goal. Okay, George Heslop with the ball in his half of the field. Over the right side it goes to a teammate, gets across the stripe. On the right sideline it goes. Freddie Mwila coming up with a loose ball, gets it up to the center circle to Graham Newton, and Newton sends it over on the right where Vic Crowe comes over to get it. Crowe takes it across the line. Upfield he comes. Into the right of center to Kapengwi, into the corner McParland. McParland lets it roll to the goal line and stops it right there. And the referee says it's still in play, and finally it's allowed to roll over the sideline. Peter will have a throw-in. Throw-in comes into Emmett. Emmett gets it back to Peter right at the sideline. Out to his left, off the chest of Kapengwi. Emmett trying to get the ball away from a defender, unsuccessfully. Finally, Manchester City picks it up, and before they can get it over to a teammate, it is kicked out of bounds and awarded to Atlanta. Tony Coleman had come over to try to get that ball, and he was a little bit too anxious. He finally kicked it out of bounds. The throw-in comes in, and it's headed back out. McParland fighting for that ball. John Cocking with it. He finally gets up to Francis Lee, who starts to drive, cutting in towards the Atlanta penalty area. Lost it momentarily. Behind him it goes to Coleman. Back out towards the center line. Goes across the line now to Connor. And Connor tries to set it up once more. Bloomfield trying to get that ball away from him, and Bloomfield is called for tugging or holding. Free kick for Connor of Manchester City. About 15 yards inside the Atlanta half of the playing field. 22:18 to go in the game. Bobby Kennedy will take the free kick. The Atlanta defense sets itself. 4 men right up in front of Vic Rouse. The shot comes in, headed out on the right side. It goes to McIntosh. McIntosh kicks it high into the air, not too deep. It's coming down right at the center line. Fighting for that ball is Graham Newton and Heslop. It's Kapengwi on a one-on-one. Emmett going, and his shot is way wide to the left. That roar of the crowd that you hear is the appearance of Phil Woosnam into the ball game for Graham Newton. Phil Woosnam in and Graham Newton out. This is the starting combination, or the combination 3 weeks ago that scored 2 of the goals for the Chiefs in their 3-2 victory over Manchester. All right, the ball batted around at midfield where Coleman has it. He gets by John Cocking going down the left side. Stan Bowles ahead of him. Pass too far for Bowles, picked up by the Chiefs. Vic Crowe up to Woosnam. Woosnam at midfield to the right of center. Still going. Starts to cut into the middle now. Pass on his left long to Vic Crowe. Crowe gets it into the middle. A header. Wow! Just over the nets. Emmett Kapengwi made a diving header with the ball, and it just went over the bar. It was a pretty play to watch, and it just rolled across the top of the bar. Still 2-1 Chiefs with 20.5 minutes to go in the game. All right, Manchester now has it deep in Atlanta's territory. Pardo with it in the right-hand corner, and out of bounds it goes, just on the sidelines, right near the corner. It'll be a throw-in and not a corner kick for Manchester. Pardo will throw it in. McIntosh waiting at the 18-yard line, defending that crucial area. All right, here's Bobby Kennedy coming over. He's going to do the throw-in rather than Pardo. Pardo trying to get in there on the offensive unit. Here's Chris Jones coming in to try to take perhaps a long throw, and comes in to Jones, and it's headed out of there by Crowe, picked up by McIntosh. Now here comes Willie upfield. Cutting into the middle to his right, still going, he's at the center circle, goes right across the midfield stripe, sends the pass up front to Freddie Mwila, a little bit too slow, but Mwila comes back for it and gets it back to Willie. Willie behind him to John Cocking, still at midfield, to Phil Woosnam. Woosnam cutting into the middle, still going, tries to get one in to McIntosh, but it's intercepted and batted out to Tony Coleman. Here comes Woosnam once more, gets it away, but it's picked up by Jones. Jones sends it over on the far right side. And as he tries to get a shot off or pass off, it goes back to Jones into the right side of the goal, and out over the goal line it goes. Last touch by Manchester, and a goal kick is coming up for the Chiefs.
This is a brand new ball game again. Manchester City have got far more poise now than they had in the first half, or indeed in the game previous. Trying to contain, they're using an offside trap to try to catch out.
Offside called against the Chiefs as it comes upfield. Offside against Peter McParland. And the linesman was right on that. He picked it up right away and waved his flag and pointed his arm.
They're playing Manchester, that is, they're playing the county professionalism there. Utilising every ounce, every bit of experience they have now to try and smooth their way and keep up on this rather than try and charge them.
Okay, the Chiefs have it now at midfield, just across the line. Amit Kapengwi starting to drive into Willie McIntosh. The pass goes in the corner, goes Brian Hughes. McIntosh, long shot, wide to the left and out of bounds. Manchester City coming up with a goal kick. We have 18 minutes, 7 seconds to go in the game. The Chiefs lead 2-1. And there's a brief pause. Let's pause 5 seconds for station identification. This is WGST in Atlanta. At midfield, Peter McParland on the goal kick, coming up with possession of the ball. Takes it down the left sideline, stops just short of the 18-yard line in the corner on the left side to Woosnam, back to McParland. A little bit too far for Peter. Tony Book comes up with it and gets it to Mulhern. And Peter gives a gentle tap to Tony Book as he goes charging into him lightly. These two boys, I believe, know each other from back in the old country. Manchester City coming back to the attack, and a pass intended for Tony Coleman is too far, goes over the touchline. It'll be a throw-in for the Chiefs, and Cocking sends it over to Vic Rouse in the penalty area, and Rouse boots it upfield. On the right sideline, it's stopped by Kapengwi. Kapengwi tries to get one over to McParland. It's intercepted by Connor, and Kapengwi comes up with it again to Mwila. Up the middle it goes, and there's nobody there. But there was a whistle. We have a violation, but the referee, Jim Carr, says let's keep the play going because Manchester has possession of the ball. The violation was against Atlanta. Okay, here's McParland with it as the Chiefs again come up with the ball in Manchester's half. Long lead center that was too long and right into the arms of Mulhern, the goalkeeper. Mulhern sends it out to the right. Eric?
Manchester City are clearly adopting an outside trap. They're moving up the defense every time the Chiefs have the ball. It's up to the Chiefs to try and pick the right time and the right moment.
So they're playing much like Dallas did against us, in which we managed to beat them 1-0, although we had 1,000,001 opportunities about a month or so ago. All right, Atlanta, let's see what they can do on this offside trap as they pull their fullbacks further upfield. Over on the left sideline it goes, and out of bounds. The pass was intended for Phil Woosnam. And it's awarded on a throw-in to Manchester City. Tony Book behind him to a teammate who passes back to Mulhern, and Mulhern will now send it upfield. 15:50 to go in the game, 2-1 Chiefs. Coming across diagonally, Chris Jones heading it over, getting a return pass, traps it momentarily, passes into the middle to Heslop. Heslop on the left side, starts cutting over to the left-hand corner, down to Stan Bowles on the left sideline. Bowles being challenged by John Cocking, and Cocking tackles it away from him out of bounds. A nice bit of defensive work as he kept on backing up step by step with Bowles, no further than a yard away, and knocked it over the sidelines. All right, Tony Coleman now will throw it in. He's being guarded by Freddie Mwila. We're going to have a run-up throw in now, long one. coming in is headed by Vic Crowe up to the 18-yard line. Dowd tries a shot, and it goes over the nets. On that long throw-in, Dowd put his foot in, and it was too high. Went up above and beyond the nets. A goal kick coming up for the Chiefs.
This really is a cat-and-mouse struggle. It's a fascinating battle of tactics here, and I think the Chiefs have to rely a great deal on the experience of Phil Woosnam and Peter McParland to crack this trap that the Manchester City defenders are setting.
Okay, Stan Bowles with it at the center circle. Bowles sends it across the stripe, up in front of him to a teammate. That's Chris Jones at the center circle. Behind him to Bowles, past Jones it goes to Tony Book. Book at the center line, centering the ball in, intended for Dowd. The ball is batted high in the air, comes down off the chest of Francis Lee. Lee's still trying to get to it. He now has it. It's batted around loose, still batted away from him. And we have... coming out with the ball is Gordon Ferry for the Chiefs. And upfield it goes to Phil Woosnam, and again the offside is called against Atlanta as the Manchester City defense was right at midfield as Woosnam had gotten just beyond it before the ball was passed over to it.
The Chiefs don't only have to watch the ball, they have to watch exactly the strategy and the position of the Manchester City Warriors. Joe Mercer is an absolute expert at this particular ploy. He used it in Oakland last week when they were 2-0 down. With only 9 men, they still managed to scrape out by losing only 3-0 with tactical success as well, regardless of the score.
Okay, that indirect free kick comes down towards the Atlanta penalty area, but John Cocking boots it well back upfield. Al Heslop comes up with it at the center circle, and over on the left side, it comes to Coleman. Connor, his teammate, centers the ball in, headed over the nets and out of bounds. 13 minutes, 15 seconds to go. They're chasing the ball. We have a pause in the action. Let's go 60 seconds for this message. Okay. And that was our last one. We have 12 minutes, 7 seconds to go in the game. The Chiefs still leading Manchester 2-1. Tony Book with the ball in Atlanta's half of the field to Chris Jones on the right side. Jones has it kicked out of bounds right in front of him by Vic Crowe. Throw in for Manchester. Francis Lee will throw in. It's strictly a defensive battle now on the part of Atlanta as Manchester centers the ball in, and again it's headed over the nets and out of bounds. Goal kick coming up for Atlanta. They have been keeping the pressure on these last 10 to 15 minutes, and with the help of their offside trap just barely at midfield, or just across it in their half of the playing field, because you can't have an offside in the other team's half of the playing field, so they are playing it as close to the vest as they possibly can without allowing the Atlanta offense to get behind them. 3 of the Chiefs, McParland, Woosnam, and Kapengwi are all stationed with the back defensive men of Manchester City. It comes across the line. Kapengwi trying to head it ahead of him, but it goes out of bounds. But it was last touched by Manchester, so the throw-in comes to Woosnam. Now to Kapengwi, back to Phil. Phil cutting down the right side of the penalty area, stops, gets it over to Emmett. Emmett driving, a shot wide off the left-hand corner and out of bounds.
We'll need a great deal of speed. The speed is the essential part here. A great deal of speed for someone to break away just inside the line. Carry through and rip open the gap in this defensive wall that Manchester City has set up. It's a very professional attitude they're taking, I must say, and it shows just how seriously they want to say they win this game.
They have just got it down to a methodical type of play, working for the shot, and not passing too widely. They're getting those good quick passes in there, but they've been unable to cash in. Coleman works it down into the deep left-hand corner. Right there is John Cocking, and it goes out over the goal line. They will award a corner kick to the Manchester City Club. Atlanta sets up its defense. Vic Rouse standing at the rear end of the net with Brian Hughes. John Cocking takes up his post at the front end of the net. Just at the side of the penalty area is Freddie Mwila. Now he tacks on to Chris Jones. Here is the corner kick. It's a low shot right off the knee of Cocking, and Vic Rouse grabs it. It kind of rolled up the right knee of John Cocking, and Vic Rouse was right behind him to get it as it came down. So the kick comes upfield, and it goes right to the sideline, and it did not go out of bounds. The referee says no. Okay, Manchester still with it, gets it up into Atlanta's half, but Cocking is there to stop it, gets it up to McParland, just short of the line. Mwila comes over to take it, gets it on his left to Ray Bloomfield. Bloomfield gets a pass up to Brian Hughes down the left side, now in Manchester's half of the playing field, about 10 yards behind the 18-yard marker, and out of bounds it goes, but there was a violation called against Brian Hughes. Free kick for Manchester. Comes into Francis Lee. Lee sends it long across the stripe to Jones, and Jones trying to get it over to his teammate, has it intercepted by McIntosh, gets it over to Bloomfield at the center circle now, coming right up the midfield stripe to Phil Woosnam. Now Woosnam still Woosnam to Mwila on his left. Freddie noticed he was almost offside, but he dropped back there for the moment. A ground shot at the goal, too soft. There was an offside called against the Chiefs, however, before the shot was taken, and it was offside against Emmett Kapengwe. Harry Dowd gets a header back to Chris Jones, and Jones grabs Gordon Ferry, and I believe the referee saw that one, but he is allowing the play to continue because Atlanta has possession. Woosnam on his right near the sidelines to McParland. Now Atlanta drops back. A looping pass that was intended for Emmett Kapengwe was a little bit too far in front of him. Batted out, but Cocking picked it up, sends it back to Woosnam on the right side. Now to John behind him, to Cocking. On his right, another offside called against Emmett Kapengwe. Woosnam still driving in. Behind him to McParland, shot wide to the right. I believe the linesman had called an offside on that, and they just continued the play on. But it was an offside, and had it gone into the nets, it would not have counted. The referee, Jim Carr, did not see the signal of the linesman. It's awfully warm down on the field. Well, let's see. We have a corner kick coming up for the Chiefs now, so the offside has been ignored. The corner kick by Kapengwe comes in, goes right off the foot and right at the goal line by Tony Coleman. Coleman comes up with the ball, cuts over to the sideline, gets past Emmett, and sends it long downfield. There's nobody there except Atlanta Chiefs, and Vic Crowe is chasing it. Vic Crowe letting it roll, finally taps it back over to Vic Rouse. We have 6:58 to go in the game. And